Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. So the southern border crisis, the illegal immigration coming into our country is becoming an issue for all Americans, no matter where you live, regardless of if it's up north or at the southern border or somewhere in between. Um, Most likely, if you live in a big city, your city is feeling it one way or the other. If you aren't yet, my guess is you soon will, unfortunately. So I saw this article. Keeping in mind I haven't read this like most of the articles, I just simply learn along with you guys as I read, and I try to call out any nonsense that I might come across. And so after reading the title for this article, I couldn't help but wonder, is American tax dollars, federal tax dollars, or local New York City, New York State tax dollars really funding all the rumors that, all these things that were, rumors going around that we hear about, debit cards and hotel rooms and things like that to house these, illegal immigrants? So let's check out more and see what we can find out. From the New York Post: inside Mayor Adams' migrant debit card boondoggle, no bid bank gets $50 million and border crossers up to $10,000 each. It takes money to make money, as the old saying goes, and apparently it also takes money, as much as $53 million, to give money away. Earlier this month, the Post broke the story that Mayor Adams is giving out prepaid cash cards to migrants. Unusually for the mayor, Adams didn't publicize this story himself, and his administration has for nearly a month failed to correct several public misperceptions about it. One misperception is that the program allows the city to give out just $50 million to migrants. I'll correct that to illegal immigrants. No wonder the mayor has been reticent. The debit card program, if you read the actual contract, has the potential to become an open-ended multi-billion-dollar Bermuda Triangle of disappearing, untraceable cash used for any purpose. It will give migrants up to $10,000 each in taxpayer money with no ID check, no restrictions, and no fraud control. Meanwhile, living is so expensive for millennials that they can't break out of renting or their own mama's basement. And even working 40 hours a week can't save up enough money to afford a down payment to buy a house. They can't break into the home ownership bracket, which is a scary prospect, especially when you have these people over at the World Economic Forum types where they're saying that people are going to own nothing, live in the pods, eat bugs, and be happy. So let's get back to this article here. Why give the debit cards out? When the Post exposed the mayor's debit card program earlier this month, the mayor's office spun it as a money-saving program. To solve a problem, migrants staying in hotels don't eat all their food. Not sure what that means. Hopefully they'll elaborate a little bit further. DocGo, the city's no-bid emergency contractor to provide migrants with 3 meals a day, throws away up to 5,000 meals daily, wasting $7.2 million a year. Some food is inedible, expired or rotten, and other food doesn't meet migrants' dietary needs. What, are they vegan? Are they on the keto diet? Not talking junk, but I mean, I just feel like if you're an illegal immigrant to a foreign country, you kind of just eat what they give you and be thankful that they're not sending you back home, right? I mean, let's get real. Providing mass-scale meals competently and with options for specific needs, halal, kosher, vegan, non-gluten. Oh yeah, I forgot gluten-free. Isn't that hard? The school system does it. Airlines do it. Hospitals and jails do it. Yeah, but you can't compare feeding illegal immigrants to school lunches for the children of America. You got to have manpower and things like that. You can't just assume that all these things are in place and able and willing to just cook all day for all these folks. I mean, if it's me, I would just feel lucky to get my bowl of porridge from the gigantic pot that they made for me and the rest of the people that are staying at the hotel for free. I wouldn't be worried about gluten-free or kosher or any of that stuff when you knew it could be an issue when you ventured out and you left your home in the first place. And so it wouldn't be that difficult for the city to solve the problem on site. City auditors could refuse to pay for the meals and So it wouldn't be that difficult for the city to solve the problem. On-site city auditors could refuse to pay for meals that are objectively inedible, with visible mold, for example, or with expired labeling. So solving the old boondoggle with a new boondoggle. Not sure what a boondoggle is, but I kind of like saying it. Instead of assuring that its existing no-bid emergency contractor fulfills its duty to provide edible food, however, the Adams administration has solved its problem by retaining a new no-bid emergency contractor to provide a service with far more scope for waste, fraud, and abuse than stale sandwiches, giving out, potentially, billions of dollars of hard cash, few questions asked. Okay, so I see what they're doing here. It used to be that if you were on food stamps, you could get, bread, milk, eggs, the essentials. And there were certain things that you couldn't buy. Then it moved on to EBT, and I'm pretty sure you can just buy anything with EBT as long as it's food, but I don't even know about that. But from what I understand, it seems like they're giving people more freedom, moving from food stamps to EBT by just giving them the cash. And so I see potentially that same line of thinking going on here, that rather than making people eat our school lunches that are just generic made for everybody, we'll give them the cash and then they can go to the store and buy what they want, so then they'll eat it all. I understand the thinking on that, but I don't believe that it's actually going to save any money. So which vendors did the city's Housing Prevention and Development consider for this contract as qualified to provide this complex financial service? New York City is home to hundreds of top-tier financial services and public benefits providers, a dream of a competitive bidding pool to ensure that the city gets a good price as well as strong protections against fraud and abuse. But HBP considered only one, Newark-based Mobility Capital Finance, which also has an office in Harlem. Mokai Phi was founded by Woel Coaxum, a former managing director at JP Morgan Chase, who said the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014 inspired him to serve the underbanked. So how much city cash will Mokai Phi give out, and how much will Mokai Phi be paid? Adams has been content to allow a public misperception that the program is small and focused, with 500 migrant families at the Roosevelt Hotel receiving debit cards of about $1,000 a month, allowing them to buy necessities at grocery, foods, and convenience stores. As the mayor said in February in response to a press question, we're doing on a pilot project with 500 people. It's easy to conclude, and the mayor has not disabused anyone of this thought process, that that's how this will cost $53 million or thereabouts, the headline figured reported to the press. Nope, $1,000 a month for 500 families for a year, a good time frame for a pilot, would cost $6 million. The city could have written and signed a contract for about that amount. A contract that allowed for a well-defined pilot program with such well-defined cost and a way to judge its results. That's not the contract the city signed at all. Oh, interesting. Most importantly, the $53 million headline figure is not the money that migrants will receive during the pilot. Huh? That this is the number the vendor Mokai Phi potentially will receive as its fee for services. As the contract document clearly and explicitly states, over the year's term, in exchange for Mokai Phi's performance of the services, the city shall pay to the contractor a total amount not to exceed $53 million in accordance with the scope of services and fees. That scope of services does not include the money that the migrants actually receive on their debit cards. The city funds the cards, that's it, puts money on them separately. In other words, for a maximum of $53 million, Mokai Phi issues blank MasterCards in bulk. That's it. And for the service provider, Mokai Phi not only makes money from each card distributed, but gets a 3% fee on the first $50 million the city puts on the cards. That is $1.5 million. The fee drops, but only slightly after that first $50 million. It's easy to work out how Mokai Phi could get a $50 million fee or so, the maximum allowed under the contract, after stripping out various fees the customers get for printing up the bank cards and such. The city has purposely given itself a flexibility to disperse at least $2.5 billion on these prepaid debit cards over a year. It continues. Fraud controls? What fraud controls? So to sum up, so far, the Adams administration, with no oversight, no consultation with the city council, no public discussion, has given itself a flexibility to launch a massive parallel benefits program alongside not replacing traditional welfare cash assistance and federal food stamps benefits for New Yorkers legally in the country long term. But those traditional programs at least come with reasonable If not fail-safe fraud protections, people must prove eligibility for these programs, including providing identification. SNAP food stamp cards are not debit cards. They're programmed only to pay for specific food items. Adam's potential multi-billion-dollar debit card program, by contrast, has no such built-in protections. So it pretty much is like I was thinking, but it's kind of worse. They're giving them cash on these debit cards so that they can buy anything. They'll be able to buy clothes, cigarettes, beer, whatever, and things that you don't need to survive. So as the contract with MoCi-Fi clearly notes, cardholders will not be subject to ID verification, and the city shall be responsible for the accurate delivery of cards to customers. Sounds like they can really just give these cards to whoever they want, allegedly. But I say that because, like it says right here, there's no identification required. So, I mean, they give this card to Joe Schmo. He can go and use it. He's simply just using like a gift card that you bought off the shelf and loaded some money on. My prediction is that this fund is going to be bled dry with a quickness. And nobody will know who spent what where. Think about the ramifications when people have these cards stolen, or they sell them off. Think of an individual that ends up with 8 or 9 of these things, getting $1,000 loaded on it every month. This just sounds like a recipe for disaster, for just literally taking money and sending it down the drain. Now, you can make the argument that it's taking care of people, but the fact remains, these people should be taken care of by their own government in their own homes. They shouldn't have had to flee their own country and crawl across a razor wire border and cross a river to break into another country to get these benefits. So I'm going to read that last sentence again, and then I'll continue. As the contract with MoCi-Fi clearly notes, cardholders will not be subject to ID verification. Will not be subject to ID verification. And the city shall be responsible for the accurate delivery of these cards to the consumers. And after delivery of these cards to the city shall be responsible for the security of the cards until delivered to the card holders. So MoCi-Fi will print and make the cards, hand them over to the city, and then the city will put them in the mail and determine who they go to, essentially. Which they won't actually put them in the mail because these folks are illegal immigrants and they don't have a mailing address. So they're going to just be handed to an individual to go distribute them. Wonder how you apply for that job. And if anyone knows how to apply for that job, I will fill out my resume this afternoon. So under the contract, upon request by the city, MoCi-Fi will simply dump off hundreds or more of blank debit cards with no one's name on them, with unknown amounts of money to be loaded on them, up to $10,000 per card at any time by the city. The city may even issue debit cards to children. If cards are to be distributed to any person under the age of 18, the city shall confirm that the minor cardholder's parent and or guardian has consented to the minor acceptance of the use of the card. So every parent's going to be like, yeah, I consent to my 4 children having a card. This is insane. Imagine just having debit cards loaded with, if you have a family of 3, you have debit cards loaded with $3,000 a month. So city employees and shelter contract workers are going to be in charge of handing out cards to be loaded with regularly refilled and untraceable cash to people who have no forms of identification acceptable to the American financial system services under a program with no eligibility or verification policy. What could go wrong? Wow. Are you seriously? I'm going to read that again because I stumbled through. So city employees and shelter contract workers are going to be in charge of handing out cards to be loaded and regularly refilled with untraceable cash. So not only is it going to be handed to one person, they're going to hand those out to a bunch of people, and then everybody's just going to be trusted to hand these out to the illegal immigrants. And then they're handing them out to people who have forms of no identity acceptable to the American financial services system under a program with no eligibility or verification policy. So I don't understand at this point how any Americans that are born here or Americans that immigrated here legally, that went through the process and assimilated like folks are supposed to, could ever vote for a Democrat again. Even in New York. You guys, they're giving out more money than people make to folks that aren't even supposed to be here, to criminals that broke into your country. How can you support the continuation of this? How can you support the border continuing to stay wide open like the Biden administration wants? I know that Trump isn't for everybody, but you got to realize that at least under Trump, Americans had money in their pockets and the border was secure. You know, if you lock your doors at night, if you lock your car doors at night, you got to understand you have to have locked borders. You got to have protected borders. So in this vital year of 2022, so in this vital year of 2024, we really need people to evaluate who they're voting for in their local elections, especially. Don't continue to vote for people that are doing this type of stuff to you in your own country. We are all already spread so thin with our finances, health insurance, the cost of gas, the cost of groceries, the cost of living. I mean, it goes on and on. So I know this one is long, but it's just getting good. So let's continue a little bit further and find out what more nonsense is baked into this, right? To list one potential problem among many, gang members will know that people staying in adjacent rooms, including vulnerable women and minor children, are in possession of these debit cards. I mean, you can say gang members, you can just say predators. Predators will know. And then I wonder how easily these things can be skimmed if they're used for like gas at a gas pump or something like that. Can you just steal the information with a skimmer and boom, there it is? You got a card that's being loaded thousands of dollars every month? So the potential card recipients will quickly learn who is in a position to make the decision of whether they can get a card or not. Nor can the city ensure the recipients don't spend the money on unauthorized products or simply withdraw the money in cash. These are not SNAP cards, they are MasterCards. Cardholders can pay for any goods, services at any business merchant that accepts MasterCard, the contract reads. Restrictions are optional. Yes, the city can ask MoCA to activate or deactivate certain merchant or spending codes. I think I've been calling it MoCA-Fi, whatever. But those restrictions are not built into the contract and are in the city's changing discretion. The city can even enable cardholders, consumers to withdraw cash from the cards at domestic and international ATMs. ATM withdrawal amounts per day can be restricted by request by the city. The contract reads, should ATM access be included as part of the program, card fees will be subject to the schedule provided. So there's also going to be that transaction fee, that $3 or $5 transaction fee, whatever it is nowadays when you use your ATM card. So those funds are just going to go to credit card fees. So to finish up, it looks like we're down to the last paragraph little section here. Let's finish this out real quick. And I'm sorry this has been so long, but it got better as it went on. As the mayor told radio host Gary Bird earlier this month, it's important for us to speak directly to you to separate the facts from fiction. Fact from fiction is the migrant cards that we gave out to migrants to purchase food. Just some quick bullets that you need to know about these cards. They are not American Express Gold cards, folks. This is a pilot project we're doing with 500 migrants. The fiction is in what the mayor says. The fact is in the contract documents that we just went over. The city has given itself full contractual and technical authority under a supposed emergency to disperse billions of dollars in cash to unidentifiable people who otherwise are not eligible to access the American financial system in untraceable global cash. And I'll just simply end this video by saying this program is complete and utter bullshit. And if you agree, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.